"Grandpa, that HOA woman's on the fence again," I yelled through a mouthful of Pop-Tart, eyes glued to the kitchen window. There she was, Margaret Hensley, Maple Grove's self-declared homeowner enforcer, clambering over our 6-foot fence like she was in an off-brand spy movie. Neon vest blazing. Clipboard clenched like a weapon. Foam knee pads strapped tight. Probably still sore from her last misadventure. Grandpa Walt didn't even flinch. He rocked slowly on the porch swing, mug in hand. "That's the 4th time this week," he muttered. "She's practically begging for a lesson." This wasn't just about fences anymore. It was war, a turf battle marked by flamingos, solar lanterns, and wind chimes deemed too cheerful by Margaret and her army of bylaws. The front lines had been drawn the moment Grandpa moved in. He'd come to stay while my parents worked overseas. Me, Ethan, just your average 15-year-old glued to a console. Grandpa, a grizzled Navy engineer with a toolbox for a soul, saw the HOA as everything wrong with civilian life. It all started when Margaret fined us for having a mailbox painted teal. Then came her attack on Grandpa's beloved flamingo army, visual pollution, she called it. But the real spark? The day she trespassed into our backyard, measuring our flower beds like she was collecting evidence at a crime scene. No knock. No warning, Grandpa had growled. Claims HOA rules give her access to questionable terrain. That night, he vanished into the garage for 6 straight hours. We thought maybe he was building a birdhouse. We were wrong. Now, watching Margaret scale the fence again, it all came flooding back. The week before, she'd face-planted into the koi pond chasing an unapproved garden flag. Her soggy sneakers had left a trail across our lawn like a badge of shame. Grandpa didn't laugh this time. He just glanced at the porch cam, sipped his coffee, and smirked. "Watch this." Click. A sprinkler burst from the flower bed and sprayed Margaret with a glowing green mist. Grandpa's special mix of peppermint oil and food dye, a deer repellent turned busybody deterrent. She shrieked, slipped, and flopped into the oregano. "You're trespassing," I shouted from the doorway. She scrambled up, soggy and furious, wielding her clipboard like a broken sword. Grandpa calmly walked to the gate, opened it, and pointed. "No need to climb. Exit's right here." She stormed off, muttering about lawsuits. Grandpa handed her a laminated sign. "Trespassers may be sprayed. You've been warned." By lunch, footage of the whole fiasco had leaked into the neighborhood group chat. Caption: Green Goblin down. Porch Admiral wins. Reply: bring popcorn for round 2. That evening, Grandpa dropped the real bomb. "We're wiring the gate tomorrow," he said, casually stabbing his meatloaf. I choked on my Sprite. "Is that even legal?" "Only if she grabs the wrong part," he grinned. The garage became a war room, blueprints on every wall, wires curling over coffee cans, a cantaloupe rigged to a motion sensor for testing. For a man who hadn't worn a uniform in 30 years, he sure looked like he'd found his next mission. Later on the porch, I asked, "Why do you hate her so much?" Grandpa rocked in silence. Then he said, "Because she thinks she owns people. She walks in like she makes the rules. Nobody voted for her. People like that, they don't take freedom. They erase it." That's when it clicked. This wasn't about garden ornaments. This was about dignity. The next night, we set up an ambush. 2 lawn chairs, a bag of burritos, Grandpa's ancient night vision goggles, and the newly constructed Gate Zapper 3000, a low-voltage jolt system triggered by a motion sensor, camera hidden in a birdhouse for evidence. At 1:47 a.m., the sensor blinked. Margaret appeared, dressed in black like a budget ninja. Her clipboard strapped to her back. Hoodie emblazoned, "Order is unity." She whispered about illicit trellises as she crept under our roses. Her hand brushed the vine. Zap. She yelped, launched a sneaker skyward, and collapsed into the mulch with a groan that woke the block. Grandpa raised his burrito like a toast. Now she knows. By sunrise, the video was everywhere. Tim next door added circus music. TikTok caught fire. Gate Admiral trended. Teens reenacted Margaret's fall on trampolines. Grandpa just shrugged. If I get arrested, tell him to spell my name right. But the HOA struck back. An envelope stamped urgent arrived. To Walter J. Carson, your electrified gate violates safety codes. Remove within 24 hours or face legal action. Grandpa read it in a dramatic voice while frying bacon. They even misspelled deterrent. I panicked. You're stopping, right? He pointed at the porch camera. She's the one who's dangerous. Then came the drones. A humming red light hovered above our lawn that night, Maple Grove's newest surveillance toy. I knocked on Grandpa's door, breathless. They're spying on us. He peeked out with popcorn. Well, let's teach it some manners. The next morning, the neighborhood watched with lawn chairs as a still frame from Margaret Zapp was pinned to the bulletin board. The shock felt round the block. An emergency HOA meeting was called. At the clubhouse, under harsh lights and stale cookies, Margaret sat like a broken villain in a neck brace. Beside her, the HOA president, Victor Clean, stood tall. A real estate king with a voice slick as oil. Our community, he boomed, is under attack by recklessness. He turned to Grandpa. Walter Carson, your antics have endangered an officer. Effective immediately, you owe $600 a day in fines. Gasps echoed. Grandpa stood, steady and calm. I've rebuilt tanks while bombs fell. I've seen brave men cry over broken radios. But I've never seen someone trespass, fall, and call me the criminal. Tim clapped. Then others. Grandpa turned to Victor. You want order? Respect boundaries. You don't rule my porch unless you pay my mortgage. Victor's face turned crimson. Court it is. I'm free Wednesdays, Grandpa smiled. That night, Grandpa and his friend Carl crafted a drone blaster, a leaf blower rigged with LEDs and a speaker blasting static. It blinded the next drone, sending it spiraling away. But the HOA escalated, sending 3 more the next day, scanning like alien invaders. Reporters showed up. A local anchor, Sarah Vega, asked for comment. Grandpa stared into the lens. I served this country. If someone wants to count my flamingos, they'd better bring a warrant. The clip exploded. Flamingo freedom trended. Memes showed Grandpa wielding the hose like a lightsaber. Then it happened. Flamingos began appearing everywhere. Mrs. Kim added one to her mailbox. The Millers placed 4, one in a pirate hat. By the end of the week, Maple Grove was a sea of pink birds. Victor went mad, issuing $100 fines for decorative chaos and $600 for incitement. One day, he tried stealing a flamingo and got chased off by a poodle. Grandpa stayed silent, plotting. He built a drawbridge over the garden path, with a sign. Zone of freedom, trespassers will be amused. It went viral. Merch was made. Victor finally snapped, banging on our door with papers. You're done, Carson. New emergency bylaws. No porch sitting. No gardening. That's not real, I said. It is now, he snapped. Then it happened. Mrs. Kim placed a flamingo at our gate. Tim added one with a Buster Rule flag. The entire street rose. A quiet man, Mr. Lee, stepped forward with a petition. You're being removed, Victor. Majority vote. You can't do this, he stammered. We just did, said Mrs. Kim. Margaret fled. Victor vanished within days. Rumors said Nevada. The HOA didn't die. It transformed. Neighbors elected a new board. Drone patrols ceased. Flamingos became symbols of pride. Buster, the drone blaster, got a foil medal. Grandpa just sipped his coffee on the porch. It's not about winning, he said. It's about reminding folks they're allowed to be weird. I wrote a blog, The Maple Grove Mutiny. It blew up. A late-night show invited us to New York. TSA triple-scanned Buster. On stage, Grandpa said, She thought our fence was her playground. I just gave her a spark. The crowd roared. Back home, tourists came for Buster pics. Kids rode by on bikes. A mural went up, Grandpa with flamingos behind him, captioned, "Guard your yard." One day, Grandpa handed me a letter, a scholarship to a tech camp inspired by my work on Buster. "They're lucky to have you," he said. Wind chimes sang in the breeze. At the fence stood a new HOA guy, clipboard in hand. Grandpa reached for the camera remote. "Welcome to Maple Grove," he said. Buster turned toward the gate.